Hey everybody, welcome back to Hot Nerd Network, the ultimate destination where we celebrate diverse personalities from the real world to the House of Renaissance. I'm Hot Nerd Syd, your guide through the captivating worlds of fandom, and I am joined here today by two lovely members of the Hive. I'll first kick it off with my mom. Hi, Hot Nerd Cheryl.
Hi.
And hey, Hot Nerd Kinaya.
Hi.
Just to give the audience a little bit of an introduction to you all as wonderful members of Beyonce's Hive, what is your favorite Beyonce album and why? You
You
go
want to
ahead first,
start with
mom.
me or you
Yeah,
want to start with me?
yeah.
So, my favorite Beyonce album is probably going to always be B Day, only because, I mean, she's had so many great albums after B Day, but B Day reminds me of my time when I was you all's age, being with my girlfriends, and we just celebrated that album so much. We were so excited to see this young woman just kind of come into her own. She had already experienced being in Dreamgirls. She had done her Destiny's Child Fulfilled album. So
Yes.
after Dangerously in Love, she kind of had these other experiences. So when she did B Day, it's like she was like, wake up, I'm 25 and I am ready to let you all know who I am. I'm a woman now. So not that she didn't say that in Dangerously in Love, but it was more like I'm a woman. It was a different kind of I'm coming out. And I just will always remember that time. We had so much fun as my being with my friends, going to the concert, just experiencing every moment, all the videos. Those were some of the most iconic, incredible videos that she has ever done was from B-Day. I don't know if you remember Sydney when I bought that was when DVDs were really big
Oh, yeah.
and I had the whole DVD of the whole album and
Yeah.
all of the videos, and we watched it over and over and over. I was just not corrupting, but just I embedded Beyonce in my daughter, so that will always be my favorite. Mhm.
I love that for you. What about you, Hot Nerd Kanaya?
So this might sound a little biased, but I think the Renaissance album is my favorite Beyonce album. Like, of course, we're in the season of Renaissance,
Right?
but I really do think that this album like resonated with me so deeply, and like
Mhm.
I just have appreciated seeing Beyonce in a creative space that we're not used to seeing her in.
Yes.
And really embracing the queer community that's like loved her and supported her entire career. Like I just feel like this album was so special, and it really grew on me because when I first heard it, I was like, okay, but it just like over time, I cherish the album so much. So I think this is my favorite.
I
Mhm.
love that. And I can't wait to dive in with you about even more favorite
Yeah.
moments from the Renaissance season. I love that you called it that because that's exactly what it is. Y'all two definitely took my top two. Like it's B-Day and Renaissance right there. Honestly, Renaissance was on top for a while there, but because of the nostalgia of B-Day, that still remains number one for me. But I
Mhm.
guess to give a little bit of a different piece here, I will say I really, really, really loved the fifth Beyonce album, the self-titled album, and it was because of a very similar reason why I love Renaissance. It just felt like it was a new era of Beyonce, and you can play that album no skips. It tells a full story of her and the experience that she was in that period of time. This was after she had Blue, and she was really trying to come into her own and still establish that she's not just I mean, she is a mother, but she is also a woman, and she still has fun. She's still sexy. She's still just thriving. And Renaissance, and even this movie reminded me of that too. We'll get into it, but she's talking about, my 40s are my best years, and it's like I think she just keeps growing like fine wine, reintroducing herself. So, self-titled was definitely one of the first times I saw her really reintroduce her brand, and Renaissance is this next time I've seen this. So yeah, we're in a whole new era. And that's what we're here to talk about today, y'all. If you can't tell by the title, we are here to talk about Renaissance. The movie just came out. We've all seen it and we're all ready to deep dive into it. But all of us have also been to the tour together on the
Mhm.
same day here in
Yes.
DC. It was so amazing. One of my birthday, and then yeah, the album as a whole that really set the foundation for this entire season, really kicked off the season of Renaissance. So
Mhm.
let's go ahead and dive in and kick things off with our immediate impressions and reactions to the album, the worldwide tour, and the movie. I'll start off with Kinaya here. Like, how did the overall experience of Beyonce's Renaissance, everything, the culture, make you feel?
I think it was her most fun album for me and most fun time. And I feel like it was very community oriented. I feel like it brought together the Black queer community, Black women. I remember the day we were all getting together, getting ready together for the Renaissance tour, and we're walking outside, and you could just tell who's going to the Renaissance tour. Like it was like a Black girl holiday, and I love that aspect of like it just being something that united so many Black women, so many Black queer folks, and just made it just it was like a community, experience. So I think it was just fun and just just brought together a lot of people. I think it was awesome.
I completely agree. What about you, Va?
I think I feel that the whole Renaissance experience, just kind of going back to your first question in transition, I've kind of watched Beyonce from the beginning of her career. I mean,
Yeah,
her beginning of her career, of course, was with Destiny's Child, but when she started her solo career, you all weren't even born yet, right? So I kind of have watched this transition of this woman from her beginning of her solo career to now, and she has opened up her life to us to show her journey.
yeah,
So to me, when you get to Renaissance to me was like her journey to say, when you get into your 40s and now I'm in my 50s, you do get to a point where you really don't care about what anybody thinks. You really aren't so worried about all the different petty sort of things that people say or that they do, or all the games that people play, or all the nonsense that you may experience in your career. You kind of are like, I'm here now. I'm established. I know who I am, and I trust myself. So I feel like Renaissance was that kind of that mountain of her transition to say that she's at the top now. She's at the top of her game. And it's like she's giving us all her gifts, all of her little nuggets. And I felt like it was wonderful how she identified with every generation, every gender, every type of person that's out there. I don't know all the right terms like you all do, but every type of person who's out there, she identified with, and she spoke to all of us, and we all love her. So I hope that answers.
absolutely. And
Mhm,
playing off of
mhm,
that, I really
mhm.
do think that this album really showcased Beyonce's just how do I say it? I wish I had a better word for it, but it's not prestige. It's like not tenacity, but tenure in
Mhm,
this whole world of art creation, like
mhm,
from many different facets. That's particularly sticking out to me because we got to see the behind the scenes of the movie. But I remember even just thinking that back 2 years ago when the album came out, because or was it 2 years ago? Or was it a year ago? Did it
A
come out
year.
last
It
A
was a
year.
year ago. A year
year?
ago. Mhm, mhm,
Definitely a year ago, because I just remember it sparking so much conversation amongst us, amongst that same groups of women, amongst the queer community, like you were talking about, Kinaya. Like there was so much to talk about because never have I seen her weave a story so closely together. Like this to me, Renaissance does feel like the most put together album as far as a storyline goes, and what she was trying to do. She had the very, very fun songs. I mean, the fun songs go out throughout, but it's like it's definitely a beginning, middle, and end when you go to this album. She's saying so many different things and giving so much homage to all of this, to just music, like that is her talent. And then we get to see, like, that's the first layer. Then we get to see the world of it. Like we get to step into the culture of it and bring together the actual community aspect with the tour. And now to be able to like take in this movie and really be able to celebrate her as an artist, like to see how intentional every single aspect of this whole world I mean, she's creating a world, and I love world building. It's like
mhm,
that is exactly, I mean, she's teaching the biggest thing I walked away from the movie with was like she is teaching us how to find our own voice, and like she's laying that foundation and doing it herself. So I mean, man, it made me just feel empowered. Like this was like all of the dopamine I needed every single time. So I just loved it. I loved it. I wanted to ask you all if there was a particular aspect or performance or scene, um, even song that really stands out to you when you think about Renaissance as a whole. Yeah.
um, for me, the whole album, really, because it's like you said, the album tells a story. I mean, I have funny moments in this album because I'm so naive to certain things because I don't always connect um always the words because it's more of the feel of the album for me. And I remember Sydney when I first heard Cuff It. I don't know if you remember, I was like, oh, yeah, she's telling me that I'm just not going to give an F about anything, right? You were like, mommy, it's a fun song. She's partying. We're supposed to be partying. And I
My
was like,
brother was like, F it, F it, F it.
I was like, that's right. That's how I feel.
Yes. If that's, if that's how it resonated with you, that's what matters.
Absolutely. But as I actually settled down and really listened to it, I was like, "Oh, this is a fun song. Oh, I get it. I get it now." And it was the same moment. I had that moment with you, Sydney, and then with my own best friend, right? We were listening to Church Girl when we were getting ready for your birthday when we were going to the concert, and I had a totally different concept of Church Girl than her. And she really kind of woke me up to the fact that she's like, Cheryl, this is like, this is the song where you don't care. This is who I am. I'm walking in and I'm not going to let no one judges me but me. Right. And I was like, oh, I get that now. So I think her album spoke to people in different ways, but it's what you felt at the time. But you learn and you grow. It's like you become more into these songs as you listen to it. Every time I listened to a song, I pulled something different out of it. It gave me a different feeling. So I love that about this. I loved how she just made me feel whole. Um, and I felt like that was it was one of the purposes for me was that she full circle made me feel whole as a woman. And that was me in my 50s. So that's how I felt about it.
I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think for me, a lot of it was, I mentioned earlier, like the queerness of the album. And so I think my favorite parts of the album where she really dives into that culture. I think Pure Honey is probably one of my favorite songs because it's just so
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is like just giving everything it needs to give. Like, I can listen to Pure Honey on repeat. And that new house song she just released, like
Yes.
it's a whole
It's
vibe for me.
nice. Yeah.
So I think that's like the aspect of it that just really resonates with me, and I just love those parts of the song. The narrators from different like members of the queer community that are like a part of this album. Like I've met one of the people that was on this album, so it's really
Wow.
cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Pure Honey is my favorite song. As soon as I heard it, it hit. I got it. I understood. And not even because, I mean, of course, I'm an ally of the queer community, but it just hits me also because of the queer community as just a performer, like performance song. Like you can dance to, I mean, you can dance to every single song of this album, but this, like the tempo of Pure Honey, like perfect for
Yes.
turns, perfect for walking, strut, like everything
Yes.
hits, like it's made for a performer. And it's like, it's also that love letter to the hive, and I love that
Yeah.
you can feel that in her costume, but you can
Yes.
also feel that in the movie when she explains it. And it's like, it's perfect. So no, I get that. I love what you said, Bob, too, about the fact that these songs in this album will never ever be stagnant. Like they will always have meaning to them, and that is a beautiful part of this album. I think that's a beautiful theme of this entire experience of Renaissance, and that moves us into the next segment of our conversation, which is just themes and symbolisms. And it's an extraordinary project, Renaissance. It's the themes that really pop out to me are personal growth, authenticity, and just the multifaceted nature of Beyonce's identity, the rebirth of Beyonce constantly. And she's providing a nuanced portrayal of an artist beyond this facade of perfection, because I think that's what Beyonce has stood for in a lot of different realms and in so many ways throughout so many. I mean, this is not the first album that she's talking about like I'm not perfect. I think especially
Mhm.
Lemonade was a really very vulnerable album. Wasn't that the last one before this? This was the one. Lemonade was before Renaissance, right? Right
I think
before? Oh
so.
no,
Or like
Black.
Black is Kid, yeah.
So my bad.
Mhm.
But Lemonade was a very vulnerable album, but this one was like it. It's not even like she was saying she wasn't perfect in the words, but especially the movie, I think really, really hit home in that aspect and just how she has struck a balance between herself. So I'm really excited to dive into some of these themes and symbols that really popped out in the movie itself. And the first one that I really want to dive into is just actually I want to dive into liberation and freedom. We'll get to vulnerability and openness. But liberation, freedom. I'll start with you, Kanai. I wanted to just ask, like, how does Beyonce shift the pursuit of perfection to embracing freedom resonate with you personally?
Child, like I feel like it could be every Black woman's story, every woman's story. But yeah, that one hit that hit
Mhm,
real deep. I would love to say that I'm a
mhm.
Virgo in this moment. Just mention that really quick. So even though I'm not, a super, super astrology, focused person, I definitely, always plug that.
Yeah.
And I think one of like the stereotypes, right, of being a Virgo is like that perfectionism and everything. And I think I definitely have seen that throughout my life, like that aspect of me trying to also transition from being like a perfectionist and being super, super detail oriented and like more big picture thinking and just flowing and like not being so in control of things. And Beyonce obviously represents that for so many women and so many people. Just the fact that she has such a like a strategic career and is so thoughtful about what she puts out and like her image and the music. So to see her kind of embracing like the funness, the silliness, and just like her freedom and just hearing her say that like on stage that she just releases and just allows whatever happens to happen. Like I've never have thought about Beyonce in that way. So I think that's beautiful. And I think it's like it's kind of a call for us all to like find that inner freedom for us. And I think the tour really represents that because it's about like having a safe space to just be yourself and be who you are. So I definitely, yeah, it resonates with me as someone who's like also, been trying for so many years to let go of perfectionism and embrace my own like liberation and freedom.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, it's a really beautiful aspect of this album and the tour.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And it's so interesting because after, we've talked to so many of our friends and family around just this album in particular. And shout out to Candace, somebody that I'm sure we all know. She had pointed this out when she had gone to see her in Chicago. Just that, like, whenever we're seeing Beyonce, it's usually a very curated version of her, like whether it's through the album or through press or through something very, very curated. But like on tour, obviously, when you're performing, there's going to be imperfections, and that those were some of Candace's favorite parts, and honestly became some of my favorite parts. I'm glad that she even highlighted that during the movie. Those times where her glasses fell off, or the audio went out, or anything like that, because
Yeah.
then it really shows you just how top of the game she is. Because she's so perfect sometimes that it can cut like those imperfections, not that it takes you out of it, but it's like, oh wait, she is a real person. Like, but she's also, that means that all the other stuff that I saw before was just as good as you would think it to be. This is not like anything fake. This is very, very real. And perfection doesn't always leave a lot of room for that realness. So no, I completely agree. What about you, Bob? How does that balance of perfection and freedom resonate with you personally?
Um, I guess what I want to tell both of you, but even in I don't have an issue of saying that in my 50s, I still deal with things of dealing with perfection and wanting to be perfect and wanting to working on my resilience. So when I look at her showing her imperfections, I feel like she's been trying to teach us since B Day about about how she's not perfect. I
Mm.
think she's always think of that with flawless. Um,
True.
think
Flaws and
about
all,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and flaws and all, yes.
Mhm.
And in every album, I think she touches on it. And so I just feel like I learned from her that, and I feel like her point in showing those things that didn't work in the show, how she overcame it. 'cause
Yes.
if you look at the point when she was showing when the sound went out, how she showed us how her and her team talked about, "Okay, how are we gonna resolve this? How are we gonna come back up?" And then they all talked about it. It wasn't any battle, it wasn't who did that, it wasn't pointing fingers, it was like, "What are we gonna do to get this resolved?"
Yeah.
And she just came out, like, on fire, and it made it even better,
Yes.
so I just think it's her teaching us that it's not about being perfect, it's about how you overcome whatever it is that didn't work out. So I think she's always trying to let everybody know that I am my own person. I'm still a normal person, but I also want everyone to know that even myself, I have to be resilient. So
Absolutely.
that's what I get from that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Because yeah, you're right. You're so right. I mean, I think that because it's recency bias, it's like Renaissance did that. But you're right. I mean, but I put that to Renaissance too because I love that she didn't just focus on the songs of Renaissance. She did sing "Flaws and All." Like that's one of her favorite songs that she sung at the top of at the top of the concert,
Concert. Mhm.
and it's amazing. And she also just speaks about like how the fans like fuel that, and allow space for that too. So no, I think that this all works to symbolize this liberation. And wanted to ask you all because it's something that I was trying to figure out myself even at the end when she is of the movie when she's talking to JayZ, which is so funny because it's like such a you can tell it's just such a real conversation between like a man and woman, like a romantic
Her
partner.
husband, yes.
Husband. She's like, "You're about to piss me off." Okay. But he was like, he kept on asking her. I felt like he was doing the 5 whys exercise. If y'all ever heard of that, it's
Mhm.
basically where it's like you're not just gonna give me a surface level answer. I'm gonna ask you over and over until you get to the deepness of it, and just like, what does this mean to you? And she described herself as a new beast, a new animal, and it's like, to me, Beyonce has always been Queen Mother, So it's like, what is this new animal that like I don't know. Maybe it means something different to her, but do you all see like a very very strong difference between who Beyonce was even in Black is King or Lemonade versus like who Beyonce is as in Renaissance?
Yeah, yes, I
Yeah.
do. I mean, I guess to me, you do things for your children. I feel like Black is King was for her to one, she that album was wasn't that album a part, it was like after she did the Lion King,
It was
I
connected
think.
to the Lion
It
King,
was
yes.
connected
It
to
was
the
kind
Lion
of
King.
similar to how Kendrick had done a whole album surrounded by
Right.
Black Panther.
Yes, yes. So I kind of looked at that because think about that. Blue was very significant in that album.
Yes.
I think she also won a Grammy, I think, for
Yeah.
that. And so it was more about giving empowerment to her daughter.
Yeah.
It was empowerment to all of Black girls. So
Yeah.
to me, I felt like she gives an empowerment across all her albums, but it's empowerment speaking to what's happening to her life at the moment.
Sure.
And right now, I feel like she's still coming out of whatever was happening in her personal life, in her personal time. I don't that's her personal life, but she exposed and let people know what she was going through and what she really felt in Lemonade. And
True.
now and coming from Lemonade and going into doing her album with her husband,
Right.
I mean, she had done the album where Ari was a part of it. I'm
Yeah,
trying to
it was
think of
the Carters,
Homecoming. She did Homecoming. She had done
but then she
um
also did the Carters too. What was it called? The Carters? I forgot what it was called, but it was the joint album with her and
Yeah. Was it the
yeah,
Black
but
and White? No, that's
that
something
was that was after Homecoming. So she did
Homecoming, then the
so
Carters.
she did Lemonade, then I think she did Black is King. I think Jay-Z did his album in between there because they did that kind of movie sort of videos from his album. And then she had the twins. So I feel like after she had the
Everything is
twins is
love.
when she did
Yeah.
yes, 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 yes. After she had the twins and she did Homecoming, it was more of her coming out into um into her resilience and opening up from that transition, from sharing that part of her life, but then now showing this is who I am. This is who I am now. I have gone through that part of my life and I am rebuilding. I am rebuilding. I am rebuilding with my husband. I am rebuilding with my children, with my family. I am forgiving. I am learning how to work through forgiveness, because it's not just what was happening with her husband, it's also things that were happening in other parts of her life.
Right.
So, and I love how she spoke about that in this movie with the original members of Destiny's Child, how she
Right.
talked about
Really.
how that was a moment for them to have a forgiving moment and to have a loving moment. And I think she's learning to let go,
Yeah.
and a lot of us are still doing that. That's just a
Yeah.
part of where we're always growing in our lives, learning to let go. And she's able to show that in a different way and to teach us that this is something that you all need to do too as a people. But I'm going on and on. So
Okay. No, that's totally fine. Can I
can
any
you all hear
thoughts?
me?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ma. That was beautiful that you said. And sorry, I was just trying to get all of my. I sometimes it'll blur together, but I was trying to get all my eras of Beyonce together because sometimes I do look at her in just her solo career. But you're right, it's not just Beyonce; it's her whole life together. And this album was very much focused on her, but she's done two other albums in between, even Lemonade, that were very much about her family. So, um, no, thank you for reminding us of that. Like, Kanaya, any thoughts to Beyonce as a new animal?
Yeah, I do think, I mean, thinking about her entire career, like this is not Sasha Fierce Beyonce. This is not, like this is a different era. And I do think that it's so refreshing. And obviously Renaissance is just an apt title. It's so refreshing to see her in a space that no one really predicted. At least I didn't. And some people didn't, weren't really super open to her switching kind of her musical style a little bit, switching, the way she presented herself. So I do think that the new animal to me kind of represents her just venturing out. Like saying animal is actually kind of like a perfect analogy because it's like she's just kind of like doing something different and like you're not really expect, she's just like crawling around like into some new area. So I think that's really cool of her.
I love that. Completely agree. Okay, y'all convinced me. Fine. Beyonce's always just been that girl to me, but like, I totally get that it's less about how we're seeing her and how she's seeing herself because, of course, she's the more personal. She is the person that sees herself throughout all of these time periods. So I think that this was her proving herself again to her and also us. But we're here. I mean, I know us three on the call are going to be for her, down for her, whatever, in whatever space, whatever time, we ride. Okay. So, no, I think the next theme that I would love for us to explore is just like the theme of vulnerability and openness, and really wanted to ask you all just which aspects of Beyonce's vulnerability in the film, especially, stood out to you most, that really showcase both the glamorous and unglamorous aspects of her life. Like, what really contributed to you all an authentic portrayal to her as an artist in person? Go
Yeah.
ahead, can I?
I
Yeah.
think something like one of the small details was, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but some of the aspects of her appearance in the film, like the behind the scenes, like I noticed one scene where she had her hands visible and her nails were like grown out a little bit. Like you could tell like her acrylics, like she needed a little refill or like a fill in. And I like loved, I'm like, yes, me too, girl. I always need a fill in. So I appreciate the little tiny details that you have to really notice that she's showing her like her hair in a big, her beanie, like covering up her hair because it probably wasn't, done, or like the lace front probably wasn't ready. All those aspects of her, just the small details of her appearance, I think showed a vulnerability that we're not used to seeing because obviously she's not putting that on, Instagram. And then, gosh, my dog is in the background barking.
That's
Um,
Okay. It's okay.
and I think the other aspect of it was just her admitting how tired she was. Like, I think some of the times when she was just like, I need a day off. It's been like 44 days straight of working. And we always think about Beyonce as like, oh, we all have the same amount of hours as Beyonce has, and she's working so much harder than the rest of us. But she's a human being too. So she's like, yeah, I know I'm working hard and I feel it. Like, I'm tired. So I think that aspect of her just kind of admitting like, that scene where she's kind of like her face is like going in and out of it and she's like probably needs a nap but she's like working and trying to focus. So very relatable, just the human aspect of being like you can work as hard as you want, but your body at some point is going to try to shut you down. So
Yeah, you're
she
not a
too experienced
machine.
that. Yeah,
She's
exactly.
not a machine. I love
Exactly.
that. What about you, Ma?
For me, I think the vulnerability of her showing us about her injury, like I always thought it was her ankle that she hurt. I don't know who told me her ankle was hurt. I didn't realize it was her knee, and just kind of the struggle of dealing with that pain, uh, how that happened to her. I never knew that she was, kind of rammed into the stage when she was younger, and she's been dealing with this for a while. I think the vulnerability of being a mother, I loved how she showed us where she had to let Blue know, okay, Blue, it's rude for you to interrupt. Because I think some people feel like she's not, that Blue's probably out there just getting away with everything. And she was letting people know that I am a mother. And sometimes I have to spend time with my children. My children need me. They don't care that I'm a superstar. To them, I'm just their mother. And so I just loved how she led us into seeing the vulnerability of her as a mom, um, with Blue and the twins. I loved how she showed her concern. Like she was upset over the fact that Blue saw those Instagram. She's like, how does she even get that? It just shows that even her, she has issues with locking her children down and keeping them, completely safe. I mean, we're all trying to do that with our kids, and it just doesn't always work. And but yet, she showed how she's taught Blue resilience. Um, and then I loved how she showed the vulnerability of just how she with her parents, just showing us into her relationship with her mom and her dad, her uncle Johnny. I was just like, wow, I just learned all these things about her that I never really connected, and I just thought it was one of the first times that I've seen her just open up to just letting us just really fully see who she is as a woman, as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, as a sister. I thought Solange would have been
I was
more
thinking the
in this
exact same
too.
thing.
I didn't see much, of Solange. I couldn't remember, but I guess I'm right because you felt the same. But I just love that she opened up. But she also showed us that I am the person who created this. I thought it was so interesting how she said she'd been working on this project for 4 years. That was well before she had already done the album with JayZ. She had done other things, but she has been working on this project longer than we thought she had. It's just been her baby in the background, it sounds like, that she's been working on. And then it came to fruition when she introduced the album. She had already started on the tour. I just loved her showing us the transition. But I may be going into one of your other questions. But yeah, those are the things that I saw that I thought. And one other thing, her makeup. I thought it was beautiful that she showed how naturally beautiful she is without any makeup. And I just thought that was wow, the world to be able to see that we don't need all of that makeup to show our beauty. We don't need our nails to be done to show how incredibly powerful we are with just who we are naturally. So those are the things that I thought showed that.
No, I love that. Those are all just great points that y'all have been making as far as those different. I feel like this is the longest that Beyonce's ever talked to us. I can't think of any other time that we've gotten this ex- like most exposed version of her. We've obviously seen different aspects of this filtered throughout other parts of her career, but to see it all in one encompassing film like this um, was pretty incredible. And so you all have already listed out a lot of other things. The only thing, the same things that was in my head. I definitely did notice what you were talking about, Mom, with the Solange. It seems so blatant to me that I can't happen to like build my own fan theory around like if there's something going on there because she really wasn't even seen that much on tour. I'm sure that she went, of course, to one of the shows, but it wasn't like it was a huge big moment like how it was, for example, on Homecoming when she like popped out on stage and they, did that set together. So it just was, you would think with this being such a big album around such a big world building album, which Solange has obviously done twice before, and just like working with the same people, just everything. You would have thought that you would have saw her a bit more, but that's their business. Um, the only other thing that I would say that you all didn't say is that I love that during a lot of the behind the scenes, it wasn't like she was really smiley all the time. Like usually in the concerts, she's putting on a show. She is giving us actress. She is acting the point that she needs to make, whether it's fierce or it's happy or it's in love. She's giving us the story, but you know, we don't owe you happy. And she's not always going to be happy when it comes to the making of this production and this
Mhm.
art. And I love that, and it just it just gave very authentic to me. But I completely agree with you, Mom, that another big piece of authenticity that really rang true was just this aspect of motherhood. And as far as I know, Kanai and I are not mothers at the point in time.
Yes, correct.
That's okay. In time, in time.
And but we definitely have our own friends that have been transitioning into motherhood. Mom, you are a mom, you're my mom. And it just was so interesting to see, because that is a stage of life that as it becomes closer to us, um it was so wonderful and very much needed for me to see an artist at the top of her game and how she approaches motherhood, and how that informs her art, how that informs her life design. Like a lot of this to me, and she says it even in the film, felt like her art was informing her life was informing her art. But especially in the sense of motherhood, you can tell that Beyonce is not just a mother to her own children, but like she is the queen of the beehive. Like everything revolves around her, but not in the sense of like it being, I'm sure it might come out sometimes, but it's not in the sense of it being like conceited, or like it's for a purpose. It's for the purpose of executing her vision, which all of these people believe in. And it's a vision that they all communally create together. Like she needs them as much as they are working and working with her. And I just think that seeing that and having like the lessons that she's learning in motherhood inform the way that she interacts with the people around her and her work was so enlightening to me. One of the key examples of that was the whole arc of Blue, and just the fact that it felt to me, and I want to see if y'all agree, that Beyonce's dance captain was a pseudo mother to Blue. Just like the kind
Absolutely.
of
Mhm.
godmother figure that she knew that if Blue was going to be a part of this, she would need somebody other than Beyonce, because Beyonce in her work is going to have to be more than just a mom to Blue in that moment. So
Mhm.
she needed somebody that she could trust with taking care of Blue, who was very much a part of this aspect. That really was so deep to me. And I wanted to ask if there were any other themes of motherhood that enhanced the film for you and just the entire production for y'all as well.
One of the things that I appreciated, it's kind of two aspects. A, the fact that she also highlighted other women on the tour that were mothers and mothering and pregnant. That was beautiful, and I think kind of empowering of you don't really have to choose either.
Yes.
And being a
Love
leader and being, a boss for these women, she was able to have the power to like encourage these things. And yeah, you can have your daughters can be a part of our, I'm sure she hired these women knowing they were daughters of another woman she was working with. Um, you know, kind of allowing, the word allow is a little bit, not quite the vibe I
Empowering.
want.
Empower.
Empowering, right? Empowering the woman who was pregnant, her trumpeter who was pregnant to, continue on the tour and just be very boldly and obviously pregnant. Like it wasn't something that was hidden or weird, or treated like it was something weird. And then I think another aspect for me was just similarly to her supporting and encouraging the mothers on her tour, her own ability to do both and show that like she was choosing both, and it wasn't either I'm going to be a wonderful dedicated mother or I'm going to be a career woman, which I feel like is something that I'm sure so many women have had to kind of grapple with, those two identities, and the fact that we're often taught that they're in contrast or in conflict with each other. So I appreciated her kind of bridging those gaps.
I love that.
So I agree with you, Kanaya. I really feel that it was so important that she showed the actual connection of how she not only was a mother, but how she empowered the mothers in her crew, in her stage crew. I love the mother who was, I think it was her publicist,
Yes,
and
yes,
how her mother, her daughter was her personal assistant.
yes.
So it was really showing the connection of how she allowed all of these different women to also not have to make a choice between being a mother. I love how you said that, making the choice between being a mother and having to work. So
Hmm.
she showed that across the board, but it also she also paid homage to her own mother,
Oh
which I
yeah,
thought was really important, that she just wanted to let her mom know, you are the reason I'm here. You're the reason I'm here, and you're the reason why I am so powerful, and that I am the superstar that I am today. You built me to be this way. I love that song in Savage, when I love that line in Savage when she says she got it from
Tina.
her mama,
Yeah,
right? So I just think that she just showed a different layer of motherhood, not just her being a mother, but how she supported motherhood as well.
absolutely. Yeah, no. It's you had already said it too, mom, like the kids don't care if you're mom or not. But that
Hmm.
was another piece.
Hmm.
I also had really loved that she was able, I mean, but now this is just billionaire things, but she was just able to at one point of the tour take her kids away back to some place in the Mediterranean and just like have them chill and be with her and have those moments. Like she allows just access to them, it's important for her, but it's also like just super hard. Like I can't imagine, like, okay, you have this incredible performance over and over again, then you have to, so many hours just have to be taken to come down, then your husband and your kids need access to you, then you find these small little moments for yourself. It really moves into this next aspect and next theme of just humanity and aging, and I just really wanted to understand from you all, how does Beyonce's acknowledgement of her humanity, it just the fact that she is growing up, continuing to, we all do every second of every day, but how did that theme add depth to her portrayal in the film? And we had kind of already talked about it, but just the fact, because you talk about the knee injury, but even just the fact that I didn't realize she had lost her like her voice at one point in time when she was
Yes, I
younger.
didn't realize that.
Never knew that, but then that's how, that informed something she was able to do later. Like, what does this theme? How did it come out to you all in certain moments in this film?
I feel like she was speaking to things that have been said in the public, like explaining the truth. She's like, let me clarify things for you. Because people often talk about how, um, I remember in Dreamgirls how they're like, well, she didn't get the powerhouse role. She wasn't the star, didn't get the award because she didn't have the powerhouse voice like Jennifer Hudson, or she's a performer. She's not it's not just about her vocals, it's really about how well she performs. I think she wanted to let people know, and I know she let it know in how she sang those songs, because she was singing those songs. And I mean, she had a range, and I just loved her vocal range, and I loved how she let people know, I really am a singer. My first instrument is my voice. Yes, I can dance and I can perform. I come full circle, but my first instrument is my voice. And I just felt like she was just telling her truths. She was making sure that we understood through these vulnerabilities that she had based on injuries or based on things that happened. It let us know that even again, from any of those things that happened to her, she found a way to become resilient. And she's still an incredible singer, even though that happened to her when she was younger. She overcame it. So that's how I looked at that.
What about you, Kanaya?
Yeah, I think similar to her, opening up about her injuries, just all the vulnerability that I think she showed in the movie really kind of highlight her humanity. And I appreciated the aspect of her talking about how when she's on stage, I don't know if you remember the phrase where she said she lets anything that's repressed or buried psychologically just come out then. And I'm
Yes.
like, hey, first of all, that's so vulnerable. And like, I don't know if I'm on that level of vulnerability. But I think it spoke to, I mean, we don't even think about, prior to that moment, have never thought about Beyonce having like repressed things that she needs to let through. But like, it's a reminder, like she's a human being. Like
Yes.
she has those things. We all have things that we're like, that are buried deep within that we're trying to like heal and love and like release. And so to see her talk about that, those aspects of like mental health, basically, where we don't usually hear
Yes.
Beyonce talking about her own mental health, I think that was really a key, way of showing her humanity in this movie.
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me of that part because it connected to one of the things that I had actually written down. I don't know if you know this, Kinaya, but I'm really obsessed with the number three. And, Beyonce is an Enneagram three. But she also talked about in that exact moment, three, that the way that she conceptualizes
Yeah.
herself in three different parts. The first is the nurturing motherhood part. What I love that she was like my first job versus being a mother.
Yeah.
I was like real, very real because oftentimes, even for myself, like sometimes I'm like, is my first priority myself? But I guess that's the answer.
Right.
No, but her first priority is her children and mom. Of course, you teach me that all the time, and that's very true for her too, her nurturing side. Her second side is the strategic businesswoman, and can't wait to start to talk about just her as
Mhm.
an artist very soon. But she is just a badass, in that. And then the third is her being a performer, and she says that she didn't say it like this, but I was like, honestly, maybe her performance side is her innocence, her shadow side, and like, but a very, um, of course, not mature, because I mean, of course, your shadow side is not always going to be the most mature, but it's just the very real, all aspects of herself that I don't know that she, like you said in the best word, that have been repressed, that she's able to just let out and be. She could be fun, she could be a bitch, she could be whoever she wants to be, on that stage when she's telling her story. So her art is an expression and a healing of that like it's literally shadow work. And I didn't realize that was what she was doing. I
Yeah.
mean, it's something that I project onto it because I find spirituality in her albums. It's almost to the same level that I find spirituality in Solange's albums, which I have to believe have informed each other, whether it's from their roots or from each other specifically. But like, for her to say it in that way was just the best confirmation, because it's like, that's like, just being wanting to be an artist myself, like that's exactly what they tell you to do. Make your art something healing to yourself, and it's like, I really, really, really love that. So yeah, that did give that to me definitely gave the humanity to me. And then also, like, when she was like, my 40s are my best year, when she's talking about
Yeah.
aging, she's like, I'm at the best. This is, like you said, Bob, I no longer give a fuck. Like, I no longer care. And my 40s, I've been a people pleaser my entire life. I'm done with that now. It's like telling people, like all of us on this call, being perfectionists, sometimes being people pleasers, like to try to let go of that now, to try to save that work, learn from the lessons, as somebody who is Beyonce is trying to say to you, like, I wish I didn't wait 40 years to learn that lesson. But now I have, and now I'm moving forward with it. I do want to like start to move on to just some of the aspects, the artistic aspects of this album. And the first piece being just acknowledgement of the people that really made this album happen. I mean, even Mom, you had talked about how B-Day was one of her most significant, like, visual, like, for the first time, like, she visually, like, really did a lot. And Melina Matsoukas is one of my favorite directors, and she was the director of pretty much all of those music videos, and it comes so full circle for me that she was one of the editors of this movie, and it's just like things of that nature. Like, this is a full team effort. Like, Beyonce has so much intention in what she does. Another quote from Solange: "Do nothing without intention." I felt that the entire album, the entire movie, the entire experience. But for you all, what were some significant highlights, and why was it significant for Beyonce to highlight the people that she does highlight throughout the course of Renaissance? So, who, what, where, and why were some of your favorite acknowledgments of collaboration, but also inspiration?
I think my favorite acknowledgement is always going to be her parents. I mean, I think she really wanted to let them both know that they both had a significant part in helping her be who she is today, to get her to this credible place. And I think sometimes, even myself, I think I hope I acknowledge my parents. My parents knew how much I appreciated everything that they did for me, but I don't think that everyone's always able to do that, to help their parents understand that piece. And I think it was important for her to tell the world that there was a village that helped me be Beyonce, and her parents were a big part of that. And then of course I loved the story and the background she gave of her Uncle Johnny. And I feel like part of her dedication and homage to the queer community really had a lot to do with her Uncle Johnny. And I understand that journey now, by her sharing that. You all may have known that. I did not know that until I saw that in the movie. And loved how she connected to the full circle of Destiny's Child,
Hmm.
to let us know that by them coming together, it was so nice to have all 4 of them, 5 of them
Five.
together, 5 of them together. I'm still hoping that maybe they do an album together as a whole, but we'll see. Maybe that's something they'll think about for the future, just so they can just show they can come full circle of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Um, and then, I just I those were the things that I just felt, that were the big, acknowledgments, and just being thankful to those groups of people. So that's what I saw.
Nice.
Okay.
What about you, Kanaya?
Yeah, I think ironically, I think for me, it was kind of almost like the flip side of her
Mm.
acknowledging that the next generation,
Mm.
and those people that she was kind of empowering to continue this on. So I think the story of her hiring the young dancer who like had this
Yeah.
viral video, and she said she
Oh
hired
my
her the next
gosh,
day.
yes.
I'm like, wait,
Yes. Oh
what?
my gosh, that was amazing. Yes.
Right. And it's just like,
Mhm.
I think that's so beautiful, her kind of regularly speaking about the younger people who are, she's kind of
Mhm.
empowering and giving them jobs and opportunities to grow. Especially the fact that she included so many queer dancers and so many like gender
Yeah.
non-conforming dancers, which is so important for, I think, the message of this album. I
Yeah.
think that part of just showing faces and names and like history of the queer community, I think was like, another really powerful aspect of her showing like who all made this album possible.
Absolutely. You had talked about The Voice, and she had a whole segment about him. I forgot. I
Yes.
forgot his name.
Yeah, I know. He was on
Yeah.
tour with her. I think he
Yes.
did
I
the
didn't even
tour.
know.
He did
Yeah.
the background and the music. I didn't realize he was on tour with her. But
Yeah.
Kevin. Kevin JayZ. That's his name. Um, but keep going. Sorry, Ma.
I did wanna you helped me remember something, about how she paid homage to all of her mentors, or there's a
Yeah.
term, I can't think of it,
Inspirations. That's
inspirations,
yeah.
Diana,
Yeah.
Tina, and the thing about Tina is, Tina was really the first person. I mean, I might be wrong, but I feel like she was the first person to really pay homage to the queer community
Oh
back
wow.
before we knew about being a queer community. If you really think about it, if you all go back and look at a lot of Tina's concerts, or when she was rebuilding her career, the queer community supported her so much. And so I just think it's interesting that Beyonce is having that same sort of effect and ability to be able to give them a voice. And I loved how she paid homage. She even says it in the songs. I don't think I really heard that in the songs, until I was at the show and I saw the movie. Like she paid homage to Jill Scott. She she paid homage to a lot of newer stars and older stars,
Oh yeah.
and I thought that was beautiful. But I loved, like you shared about the young lady who was just did her video and she just got a job and she doesn't even know it only because she got a video, but she's done that really across her career. She
Yeah.
did that for the young men in Africa when she did her 4 album.
Hmm.
Who did the dance for her for Run the World, girls. Yeah, so yeah, those are beautiful scenes. Wow, thank you for reminding me of those.
Yeah, for sure. Kevin JayZ Prodigy is the voice.
Mhm.
But no, I was just about to say like coming out and the wishing her
Yes.
happy birthday. Oh my gosh, like the authentic joy on Beyonce's face. Like you just can't fake that. Like
Mm-mm.
just her parents have really taught her humility still,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
keeps that she keeps that humility strong when it comes to just these different people, and you can tell even just the different musical innuendos that she works into all of her songs. Of course, Diana's "Love Hangover" is one of the main ones, but I also heard aspects of Britney,
Yeah.
"Toxic." I heard aspects of what was another
Mary
one?
J. Blige. There was
Mary.
yeah.
There was also just like Lil Uzi's, just newest hit with the I can't even think of it, but with the
I just want to rock.
yeah, rocking the hips. Just
Mhm.
like she's a musician, so she's paying homage to the
Yeah.
music that has inspired her both old and new, and it was very incredible. So no, I think we really touched on the homage to Uncle Johnny. And there was really just this homage as well to Houston as a whole. Um,
Yes.
loved
Yes.
loved that. Loved
Mhm.
the moments where we were able to see them go back to the home, but also I remember when they were on tour and they had set up that whole new center back at home, and I remember seeing that. I love that they showed us aspects of that and why Houston, the culture, how that informs her own culture and the culture of House of Renaissance, the food, the grills, everything. Like it was just like she just has always repped that, and to end that whole segment out with Meg was chef's kiss. Love Meg.
Yes,
I
Love
know, that was beautiful.
period.
truly.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh.
But wanted to ask you all, in what ways does the acknowledgement of like Black queer musical genres and pioneers like reflect Beyonce's deep influence to her roots? And what other aspects too? Because there were specific to the queer community, there were just so many Easter eggs.
so much. Yeah, there was so much like great content and like just voices being amplified. And I love that it wasn't just sometimes people, as far as we know, Beyonce is not like identified with the queer community,
Mhm.
but it's really incredible for her to embrace a community and amplify voices rather than kind of almost like using something to just kind of gain something rather than just really appreciating. And so I think by centering actually the voices and the stories and the way people feel and just having these members of the queer community in the movie,
Yes.
showing their work ethic, showing what they're doing, highlighting them, like they're not marginalized in the story. So I think that was really strategic and really well done. Especially again, her as far as we know, not being a part of the community, but still doing a great job of just showing love to the community. It was really beautiful.
Absolutely. Ma, what were some of the your favorite aspects of how she was able to show love to that community?
The dancers.
Yeah.
Oh my
The
gosh, those
balls.
dancers. Wow. I just loved how it didn't she really was teaching us that it's really not about everybody has different shapes and forms, and you're always trying to remind me of that, Sydney, because I'm so conscious about trying to get back to my original weight and want to get back to my original body when I was young. But we all have different stages in our lives, and we have different seasons with our bodies, and regardless of whatever season our body is in, it doesn't really matter. It's about you're beautiful in all shapes and sizes. And that goes for who you are as a person too. And I just loved her dancers. I loved her giving them the ability to express themselves. There's a whole segment in the concert that just allows them to express
Yes.
themselves. And I loved that. I loved how she was able to allow them to show who they were in the film, to give us some of that background story about how they were joyful and grateful
Mm,
to her giving them that opportunity. How they were just like, they had to pinch themselves, like, how did I get here? How did
right.
I get this opportunity? Um, and so and of course, I just really feel, I mean, just based on what she said in the movie, that whole piece was to let us know that I don't really think it really matters. We all are, I mean, we all are queer in some way, right?
Yeah,
It just doesn't
absolutely.
matter.
Yeah,
We
we
all
are.
fit
Yeah.
within the community. It's just we are all people and we have
Yeah.
to treat each other as such. And I think her Uncle Johnny taught her that. Her
Oh
mom
yeah.
taught her that. And I mean, yeah, I just loved how she shared that part of her life, and she allowed us to see, especially my generation and my parents' generation, for us to see that these are people and we have to be respectful of who they are, and we have to realize that we're them and they're us.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it.
Celebration at its core.
Mhm.
You know, when we're thinking about Uncle Johnny and just Uncle Johnny made my dress, it had a whole new meaning to me when we think about how Miss Tina says fashion saved our family. Like, that just to understand fashion as a trade for them, how this was something that Miss Tina's mother taught both her son and her daughter to help them have some sort of skill to be able to up level their lives with. That was huge because of course fashion is going to be such a huge piece of the art that is Renaissance. But on the flip end, we have what is called House of Renaissance. That's why I even started this cast with that, because that whole aspect of House of Renaissance comes specifically from queer culture.
Yes.
And Kanai, you're so right. It's not like she's appropriating. It's not like she is even just queer baiting. She is doing everything in her power to celebrate all aspects of this community. And that whole what you were just talking about, when the dolls come out, Ma, and they're showcasing themselves, we've had aspects of that at different points in times in her tours. My favorite being the B-Day tour, when they did the whole Chicago themed what was it? You should have had it. Da, 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 da.
Oh
You could
yeah.
see all they had. That was a time where the dancers came out and showed their stuff. But
Yeah.
this specific way that it was curated comes specifically from the ballroom scene, like straight
Right.
from New York, straight from the underground. Like I literally wrote in my notes, I was like, okay, Harriet, like she is giving the Underground Railroad, like
Yeah.
she is giving like this is what we
Yeah.
talk about when we're talking about representation. Okay, like really representing and giving this community in its fullness what it's supposed to give, and like you said, Kanaya, putting the true faces of that community, people who would have never thought that they could ever make it to this moment, that they would ever be seen or showcased and celebrated for just being themselves. Like that was all given in this movie specifically, and just throughout the entire tour. But I'd already talked about it before. I think that the authentic, the because you would think like, okay, well, she's not queer herself, and yes, Johnny, Beyonce's a performer. And when you're thinking about dance, there, dance and just any sport that is going to have some sort of femme aspect to it is going to have queerness in it.
Absolutely.
And when we're thinking about the ballroom scene, when we're like, it's not. I mean, of course, it's about sexuality, but it's about dance. Like it's about
Right. It's
performing.
art.
It's
Yeah.
art,
It's
okay?
art, yeah.
And as a dancer, like this this album spoke to my soul because every single song, the voice, everything is what you're using to hype yourself up, is what you're using to to express yourself. And I just really wish that I had this album. I said this like 1,000 times, Joe. I wish I had this album when I was at the peak of my dance career, because there was nothing like it. There was nothing like this back then, ever, you know. And I'm just so excited for this next generation of dancers, and just performers, and just everybody who's going to be touched by this album, every artist,
Yes,
to be able to
exactly.
have this to lean back on and to be celebrated by. So no, really, really cool things there. The
I
last thing, oh, go ahead,
I
Bob,
just want to
please.
say one thing, Sydney. I don't think art has a gender. I think art
Oh
is
yeah,
just art. I mean,
I
I think
agree.
that's where we get things mixed up, is that we feel like it has to be this or that, and it's just art, and I think music is art. So I just wanted to just kind of clarify that from my
Oh
perspective,
yeah,
that
I think
it doesn't have a gender.
it
Yeah.
definitely
Mhm.
doesn't, and
Mhm.
thank you for bringing that up. Because I wanted to say one other thing, but just even to answer you, why I say like anything that's going to be like femme related in sports is because I feel like a lot of these, like skating, dance, gymnastics, they've allowed a bit more space in the past for the queer community than something like football or basketball.
Got you.
Of
Okay.
course, queerness is found everywhere, but I think that like because like that was a more embraced part of those sports, not to a deep extent, as we you if you look at the history of especially skating, you will see, but like these were some of the first spaces of art to really embrace it, and performance art to really
Right.
embrace those communities. But I did want to say, there, you make a really great point when you said that everybody in a sense is queer. Gotta hop into my academic bag a bit, because I did take a lot of, I'm a women's studies certificate, and one of the courses you learn that queerness is just, it just means non-normative. Of course, in
Yes.
our popular culture, it has to talk about sexuality, but each one of us, just because we are not, we are black, we are a woman, that already makes us non-normative. The only like really true, like, I mean, because there's other things that could be non-normative about white heterosexual cisgender men, but they are truly like the farthest away from queerness. But every one of us on this planet, the majority
Right.
of the world are in a sense queer. But yeah, no, when we're thinking about it from a sexuality perspective, that's what I'm talking about. Like, um, the embracing of that community usually happen in more fem spaces. So
Got
yeah,
you. Mhm.
Yeah.
cool beans. All right, last theme that I really wanted to make sure we explored is really just the control and authorship that we saw from Beyonce at the top of her game as an art director. What ways does Beyonce maintain control of her narrative as a writer, director, producer? Where does she reinforce her agency in storytelling, and how does that have an impact on the viewing experience? Baba, I'll start with you on this one.
Oh my goodness. I was like, talk about black girl magic and some power. You get it, girl. That's how I felt. Cause I just loved seeing her own that this is my business. I
Yes.
have control over this. My daddy taught me how to be my own businesswoman and how to manage my affairs. And she knows what she wants. She's artistic. She is very business oriented. So she knows how to manage a business on top of being very artistic and knowing what she needs to happen and when she needs it to happen. My favorite part of this movie was her talking to that man about that camera lens and how
Yes.
she was telling him she was, so you mean to tell me that there's not one, because I looked on the internet and I saw it. I love that
Yes.
part. And and she was helping him understand, like, go do your own homework because I've already done mine. And this is what I need you to do and make this happen. And I don't know if you all noticed when she does that whole scene in the camera where it turns around full circle and it shows her full face,
Yes,
that is what she was asking to happen.
exactly. Full
And I
circle
just
moment.
love
Yes.
that. I loved, like, not only did she make sure she checked him that this can happen and this will happen and this is what I want. I need you to go do your job. And that the person did their job and gave her what she needed to make sure that her production was laid out the way she wanted it to be. I also loved how she made sure that it was very diverse. I loved how she pointed out that she recognized that there were so many women who were building her set. I thought it was ingenious how, oh my gosh, they built two sets so one could go ahead in advance. Talk about planning. one could go ahead and advance to be built at the next location while she is performing at the other. There were all these different aspects, goes back into the business of giving, putting money into to the economy. I mean, she gave so many people jobs in each place that she performed. Um, and I just thought, just her, like you said, her agency, like everybody is here for me, and I need them to pay attention to what I'm doing, and I need them to make sure that they do it the way I need it to be done. And I love that she was showing that to her girls. She was showing her daughters, your mom is a boss, which means you can be a boss. So it gave me such empowerment for her to share with us the journey of how she produced and laid out this concert, and also was able at the same time document it so she could share it and on her own terms. So that those are my thoughts.
Yeah. What
I
about
love
you,
that.
Kinaya? Hmm.
Yeah, no, everything you said, I'm like, yes, yes, and times 1,000. And I also feel like she's shown us throughout her career her level of control.
Yeah.
I think she does it, and she mentioned this in the movie. It's like minimalism and not giving us
Mm,
everything, not saying everything. I love how
yes.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but like her Instagram, very rarely are there captions. It's just a
Right.
picture. You don't get anything else. She's gonna control that narrative, and I think that carries over into the movie and the theme she was talking about of her being like sometimes it's about giving less and being a little bit like muted in certain things, and that can be a level of power and control. You don't have to be the loudest voice; you have to be the most directed and most clear voice. And so I think that's incredible and so strategic.
It
So
is.
yeah,
It
So
totally
strategic.
is. It is. It totally is. And the movie itself helped me to honor that more. To I don't know. It got me so excited, y'all. Because the tour, I was just like, what? Beyonce! And I was living in the moment, okay?
yeah,
And I was getting certain aspect, like when she puts up anointed, or just all those big things. Of course, the horse moment. Like, these are moments that were dazzling to me.
yeah,
Um, but like actually seeing it, like in every best shot on the movie, like I was just like, I mean, one, I'm glad that we were there. We all paid hefty money to go to the tour. But even if you didn't go, I hope y'all know that even
yeah,
if you did not go to the tour, you're going to get the feeling of the tour in this movie, and probably to an
Yes.
even better
Mhm.
extent, because man, she designed the hell out of everything. I mean, I was telling everybody since I saw this on Thursday, all of this there needs to be a Renaissance museum. There needs to be, because I need that set to be memorialized somehow. I need all of the different iterations of how everything was supposed to go. I need the fashion. I wish we could have seen even more about the fashion in the movie, but it tells a story even in and of itself, with all of the different editing that you see, how it's seamlessly weaving um from outfit to outfit to outfit. It's all, and I don't know if y'all realize, but when it's kind of like that TV blocks of color in the beginning of the tour, like before she's about to perform, um all of her outfits match that color scheme. Like every
mm,
single one, just go back and look, every single one fit into that color scheme, so
Mhm.
intentional as a designer. Just
Mhm.
like, oh my goodness, she's playing, like you said, with light negative space to help. Like, I love how even she said, I need this to draw back, I need to draw back. And you can see, especially, I can't wait to comb through this movie with the fine-tooth comb, because you can see where they're so intentional about centering on a specific thing that they want you to see, and then expanding from there. Like, it's just all so intentional, and you can just tell that she's showing us everything she's learned. And like she said, she was like, you only get better when you continue to practice. And she is 27 years plus into practicing her craft. And
Mhm.
so it's only up from here, is what she's telling us. So I really, really appreciated that. And it just felt like, ah man, what an artist, what a vision, what a I call it divine, because it's literally her bending and moving and weaving this craft of creativity. As a black woman, it feels so much more special to us. It will only feel so much special to us because, and not just to us, of course, like other people could be inspired, but I can't imagine being as inspired. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion, as us, because man, like she's a walking, living, breathing, I don't know, goddess to me. She is to me. Like when we're talking, I have this book back here called God is a Black Woman, and
Yes.
man, like was Beyonce created God's vision? Absolutely. Like it's incredible. And one last piece I'll say here is just like, and I want to start to move into just some final thoughts. So I'll just give some of my own. Like I carried this card with me both to the movie. Let's see if I can reach it. Ooh, okay, I knocked it over. Hold on. Okay, I carried this card with me. Oh shoot! Oh, wrong one. Oh shoot! Can you see?
Oh,
Mhm.
And both to the movie and to the concert
Concert.
itself,
Mhm. Mhm.
because if y'all didn't know, she is a daughter of Oshun. Have y'all both heard of Oshun? I know, Mom, you have.
Oh,
Kinaya.
yeah, yeah.
I've
You
heard,
make sure
yeah.
I know.
She is,
Absolutely.
for those who do not know, she is a Yoruba goddess, but she's loved by a lot of different parts of the African diaspora
Mhm.
community.
Mhm.
And Beyonce is a daughter of her, and just she's a goddess of love and beauty, fertility, wealth. Like she evokes so much. It does that not give B? Like
Yeah.
she gives this in multiple aspects of not only like her career, but especially this tour. That's how I felt. Like she was just exuding this goddess energy the entire time and teaching us how we can exude that sort of divine feminine energy within ourselves. So
Mhm.
yeah, when I think about her authorship, that's how I feel. But those are just some of my last thoughts. And any of y'all, like any last thoughts as we think about Renaissance as a season and as a culture? Kanaya, would love to start with you first.
Sure. Yeah, I kind of going back to me talking about her being playful and fun with this album. I think like embracing her joy. And I even remember her when she posted about this album saying this was a time when she needed something to be lighthearted and fun and free. And I think so many of us, especially coming out of, lockdown and so just so much happening around the world, I think it's so important for especially those in marginalized communities just to embrace joy and freedom and fun and playfulness. And I think she talked about in the movie the childlike aspects of wanting her her dancers and her performers to feel like their childlike selves,
Yes.
and I think that is so incredibly important. So I think it's a liberating album. It's a something that embraces people from the queer community, so special for that reason. So I yeah, just it's a special season.
Love it. What about you, Ma?
Um, I feel like Renaissance to me and Final Thoughts was just such a learning experience to know the importance of growth.
Mm,
As a
yes.
woman, I think she is trying to express to us her journey of growth, her season. You talked about her being the daughter of Oshun. I just remember on in the movie, it was the remembrance of how, because when we went to the concert, Sydney, both of us said we wish we were in the center,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So the movie gave me the opportunity to see the stage from a different angle. And I
Hmm.
remember the word opulence,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And I just remember in seeing the word opulence just reminded me of her power, her wealth, her beauty, her being this goddess. It's like she's so opulent, right? And
Yes.
so I just love just seeing her show her power to everyone and to empower. The songs did it, the performance did it, the love that she gave to her community, her hive. Oh my gosh, the whole experience from the beginning to the end was my favorite. I just wish it didn't have to end. It's like you wish you could be in this high, like you can stay in this bubble of the Renaissance and just be. That's empowering, and to for someone to be able to have that, that's like some Michael Jackson power.
Oh
She
yeah.
had some of those Michael Jackson themes in the show. But if Michael was
Yes, she
alive,
did.
he would look at her and say, "Okay, girl, you got the power." And I think people, all of her fans, when you just see how they react when
Mm-hmm.
she
Yeah.
is there, she is our girl Michael Jackson of this time.
Oh
I
yeah.
can't think of another way to describe it. But wow, I mean, I can't even tell you a favorite moment. It makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
It just gives me goosebumps. Um, I just loved it. I wish I could just go. I wanna go see the movie again.
Me too.
Can't wait
Yeah.
until she streams it, because 'cause I'm definitely gonna buy it. I
Yeah.
wanna buy it, like, in a way where I can keep it on my shelf. I don't know if
Mhm.
they're gonna do it as a DVD or how they'll do it, but I just wanna always have it where I can
Yeah.
go turn it on when I need empowerment. That's how I
Mhm.
feel about this album.
Literally crying the entire time in the movie theaters for 3 hours straight. Especially Kanaya when Pure Honey came on. But also even just like in the little moments. But yeah, no, I don't even want to stop talking about it. We will continue to talk about it. There's so much more to say.
Yeah.
If you have more to say, please comment down below. Thank you both, though, for taking the time today to just pay homage to Queen Mother Beyonce. Um, in all of her glory and the glory of the people that, I mean, all of the people that worked and put this piece of work together. We may not know you by name, but we know you by your craft. Like you all did that. Okay.
Yes.
Y'all all did that. Y'all all should be proud
Yes.
of what you were able to get, because this will live on for eternity. Like,
Yes.
and I think everybody approached it with that manner every single time they stepped out into that stage. So thank you all for the intentionality in every moment. And for everybody else, make sure to just check out the suggested videos at the end of this one, and explore the rest of Hot Internet when you have the time for more exciting content. I'm Hot Nerd Syd. I just want to give a huge thank you again to you too. But until next time, for everybody else, stay nerdy and stay unique. Goodbye.
Mhm.